Have you ever heard of Ron Johnson before? I know his story. I did not know his name. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. In 2011, he was arguably the most celebrated retail executive in the country. He had actually built the Apple Store from scratch. He launched the Genius Bar and turned Apple retail into this ginormous business. At that point, a $20 billion operation. So amazing leadership, amazing insights, amazing ability to grow a brand and grow a business, right? And so JC Penney actually hired him on as the CEO. They had seen all of his successes. His resume spoke for itself. No one was going to question his ability or his insights or his strategy, right? And so it was a big deal when JC Penney brought him on. There was a lot of fanfare. Everybody was excited. You can imagine bringing someone with that expertise and that knowledge and just that experience into your world. You are expecting great things, right? And he walked in with a plan. He came in with a plan to transform the company. He wanted to eliminate coupons, eliminate sales events. He wanted to redesign all of the stores. It was basically a total reinvention of J.C. Penney. And someone someone had some insight. Someone had some forethought and said, "Have you asked the customers first? Like, have you done some market research? Have you reached out to the people? Do you know that this is what they want, or is just this Ron Johnson's vision of J.C. Penney?" And that's a very legitimate question, right? Maybe he had, but they wanted to make sure that this was customer driven, service driven, and something that people actually wanted instead of just him coming in with some ideas and bulldozing the place down, right? And this is a direct quote. These are his actual words of what he said in response. He said, "We didn't test at Apple. We didn't test at Apple." And I think part of his um, ultimate downfall, which we will talk about in just a second, was his inability to understand that Apple customers were not JC Penney customers. He had done something very successful, but it had not worked or would not work for potentially at least, right? For a different audience, for a different consumer. So shoppers stopped coming. Sales started tanking. Um, and instead of saying, let's look at this, right? Like we're almost lost, right? I grew up when we still used an atlas, right? So like we're lost. Let me stop and ask for directions. At the gas station, Ron Johnson wasn't stopping. He wasn't asking for directions. He did not change course. He said the customers needed to be educated about the new pricing. And sometimes, listen, we do have to educate, consumers and buyers. Um, but he wasn't willing to say, is this an education problem or is there something that I need to change in the way that we're running this business? Cut to the chase, 17 months later, JC Penney had lost 4.3 billion in sales. The stock had dropped 51%, and Ron Johnson was completely out of the picture. Um, Now, what's good is afterwards, he was able to be self reflective. He came in with this bravado that didn't allow him to receive any feedback or to be questioned or to be told no. But afterwards, when he was out and when it was too late and he couldn't turn the ship, he did get self-reflective. And there was an interview, and this is a quote in the interview. He said, "I think it was kind of arrogance. I had such success, you think, well, this will work too." And I'm not, telling this story to pile on Ron Johnson. He's actually a fantastic example of what we can do differently. He's a fantastic example of what not to do. And maybe we can learn from him so we don't make these mistakes, right? I've seen this same pattern on a smaller scale, obviously, but the same DNA, the same thread running through it, where leaders that I've worked with, leaders that I've known, if I'm being honest, sometimes myself in previous roles, and I still have to keep myself in check in running my business, right? Here's what I want to say that other people are not saying. Um, Ron Johnson, he failed because he was too prideful for sure. But he failed because he didn't make room where being wrong was okay. He didn't make space to accept or acknowledge or even see with his own two eyes that I can be wrong and it's okay to be wrong. It's safe to be wrong. He obviously either didn't have a team around him where he wasn't just surrounded by yes men, or he was unwilling to see those that weren't just following along with his rhetoric and saying exactly what he wanted to hear, right? That pride is ego driven and it's ego fed in isolation. When we are existing just in our own little worlds and we're just showing up the way that we want to show up and not getting that outside input, right? When you have no one around you that can tell you the truth, who has enough access, trust, safety to say, hey, yo, Amy, I think something's missing here. I think you're doing this wrong. I think you're missing the mark. I think there's something that's off. Then pride is going to fill that vacuum, right? And that pride is often fear driven and fear based. Ron Johnson had all this success and now he's moving into this new role and he has something to prove. Coming in with all that fanfare, well, now he can't fail, right? And the I can't fail blinders kept him isolated, kept his ego being filled, and prevented him from having someone around him so that he was not operating in isolation, right? The antidote to what happened at JC Penney is not just us being humble. That's part of the equation. It's not just sitting in a seminar or attending a conference where we learn to not operate in isolation. It's not even taking a course, right? It's us being in a room, being in a space that's real, where the truth is foundational to how you show up in your role, right? A place where being wrong is not a liability. And that's a starting place. That's a starting point. And the leaders that I have seen be the most successful, the ones that I look up to the most, are the ones who have found a way to sustain their performance with high quality over long periods of time and maintain their relationships, their health, and their sense of self trust. They all have this. That is a common denominator that every single one of them have. They have a room, they have a safe space. They have developed and intentionally invested in something that they can go to that creates this for them, right? Harvard Business School researchers Alison Wood Brooks and Francesca Gino actually studied what happens when leaders ask for input. They found something that was a little counterintuitive. Leaders that ask for advice are actually seen as more competent. I know that we're afraid of asking for help because we're afraid we're going to seem like we don't know what's going on and we don't have the skill. But people around you, your bosses, your peers, and those that report to you, they actually see you as more competent when you ask for help, not less. And that's fascinating. So, asking for help actually signals self-awareness. It signals that you don't overestimate yourself. It signals that you're not so egotistical that you can't receive feedback. And ironically, actually builds trust and credibility that Ron Johnson lost by never doing that, right? The leaders that look the most unshakable are the ones that are the most well held behind the scenes. And that matters in a big, big way. With that in mind, I have built the nest. We already have several registrations for the nest. People are opting into the second round. Everyone from the first round is staying, and they're going to stay in their own cohort. So I'm going to be running a second one concurrent to the first one. Did not expect that to happen, but honored that it is. And I believe that the most important leadership development that we can do is not, happening in a training room, but it's happening in real conversations behind these closed doors where we know it is safe, where what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? Um, I am specifically curating a group for women leaders who are working in corporate organizations that are leading teams, making decisions, holding the room, and business owners who are doing the same. It will be 12 women max. Again, a few of the seats have already been taken. So this is a space where you don't have to have it figured out. You can come in uncertain. That's actually a superpower in our group, where you can grow into the next iteration of yourself, and be held in that space. You don't have to like perform along the way. Um, Actually, I am offering a special bonus for this next round as well. If you want to add on one private coaching call with me a month in addition to your membership, you can add that on as well. So I will leave you with this. A lot of the people that I work with, men and women, they are credentialed, they are known, they are seen, they have every accolade under the sun, and they are lacking a space where they can be held accountable, a space where someone can hold a mirror up to them and say, this is what you're doing wrong, and here's an idea to consider, right? Where you're not judged for that, but you're actually like, you're in a space where you feel not so alone because other people in the room are coming and doing the same thing, right? Ron Johnson had every credential. um, where is the space that you have where someone's saying to you, wait, have you actually thought this through? Have you asked the customers yet? Where can you get fed in? Whether that's in the nest or somewhere else. Build that room for yourself, create that space. If you are interested in joining the nest this round, please reach out to me, comment, DM me, email me at info@amycapello.com. I am looking at every single email that comes through. So I am here. I'm here for you. I would love to be that first starting space for you. And I can't wait to check in with you guys tomorrow. You guys have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day. Where did my window go? Are we going to hang out longer? We're going to hang out longer.